Hey everybody, back again for yet another video. Just figured I would carry on and get another Beach Boys review under the belt. And so we move on to their seventh album overall and their third album that was released in 1964. It was released October 19th of that year, Beach Boys Concert. This is not one of the albums that Analog Productions did a reissue on. This is just an old copy that I picked up off of Amazon, actually. Used copy. Cover's a little bit knackered there, but the record's in good shape, plays well. It's got a gatefold and some pictures. There's a little booklet in here, kind of like the Magical Mystery Tour a few years later. Had a little booklet, except this is only in black and white, but some pictures of them, I guess, in concert there, wearing the famous striped Pendleton shirts that they were known for back in the early days. There's the where they played. There's some more pictures of them live. Mike Love looking like an idiot. No surprise there. Kind of a neat cover. I like the old shirts, and back just has some other pictures of them live there. So this was their first #1 album, surprisingly. Was #1 for like 4 weeks, I believe. This is a concert from Memorial Auditorium in Sacramento, California in August of '64, even though there's also some concert recordings from '63 on here, those not advertised as such. So yeah, this is your typical live album of the early '60s. It's sort of on par with something like Got Live But If You Want It by the Rolling Stones, the Kinks at Kelvin Hall, the Beatles at the Hollywood Bowl, those sort of things. It's a lot of screaming girls while they're playing their hits. How live this is, well, there was quite a bit of studio sweetening after the fact, so it's not totally live, though some of it does sound like it is actually live. Sound systems, of course, in concert halls back in '64 were not what they were now, or in the '70s and '80s. Pretty rudimentary sound systems. So it was a lot of studio dubbing on this, like most of those live albums from the '60s. Added in, I guess back then, the symphony halls and the places where you went to see opera, hear opera, had good sound systems, but rock and roll bands weren't invited to play those places. So most of these were just playing, places that had pretty crappy sound systems. So it's your typical it's your typical live album of the early '60s. It's kind of for nostalgia's sake more than a great live document, but it's the only live album, official live album. I don't know if there might be bootlegs of the pretty much original lineup. David Marks, of course, was gone from the band by this point, but so the other big thing is that Brian Wilson would, not too long after this came out, he would stop touring with the band and just stay home and write songs and do stuff in the studio. They'd go out and tour, and when they got back from touring, he would have songs ready for them to record and do their part. He kind of stressed out on touring and didn't want to do that. And he would not tour with the band after this, only occasionally over the next several decades would he tour with them. So this is, you get him actually out there on tour with them. Not much else to say about this. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of live albums. There's a few that I really like, but I've always been one that I've always preferred the studio versions of the songs over live albums 99% of the time. This has quite a few of their hits. You got Fun, 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 Little Deuce Coupe, In My Room, I Get Around. So that's all on there. There's quite a few covers, Long Tall Texan, Papa Un Mau Mau by the Rivingtons, The Wanderer by, who's that, by Dion, Johnny Be Good, an old Chuck Berry song, and Monster Mash, oddly enough. That's kind of strange choice, but It's it's very lively, energetic. Girls screaming, they're playing. The music sounds pretty good. Like I said, a lot of this isn't strictly live. It's doctored up after the fact in the studio. Some of it does sound like it is live recording though, and Monster Mash is kind of an embarrassment. Papa Oo Mau Mau is a song that I always thought was pretty silly, but they're so revved up and energetic in their version of it here that they're having a lot of fun with it, so it's okay. The Wanderers, a song I never was crazy about anyway, but they do okay here. Uh, it's pretty much what you'd expect, Nothing really sticks out, with the exception of Graduation Day, which is a cover of an old Four Freshmen song. I think that's who did that first. It was a really good version. Trying to think of anything else that really. Um, no, really nothing else. I mean, it's fun. It's more nostalgic, sentimental piece than it is, you know, great live document, which I've already said. But um, really, I mean, I think the highlight here is Graduation Day, and then just how they're overall so upbeat and energetic, and sounds like they're having fun here. The audience is screaming, sounds like they're having fun. I'm going to give this what 6.5, I guess. Um, it, I think the Rolling Stones, the Kinks, and the Beatles live albums from these, you know, 60, 64, 65-ish periods are a little bit better than this one. This one's not too far behind them for what it's worth. So yeah, 6.5, I guess. Let's go with that. It's it's fun. Don't know how much I'll play this going forward, but you know, for what it is, it's nice fun. Third album in 1964, so that means I got one to go, and we'll be back with that in maybe tomorrow or maybe next week. We'll see.